Hi everyone, welcome to another simple conversation. I'm Navi.
I'm Aditi.
We have a slightly different format, as you can see, thanks to social distancing, but we are going to try our best to make this as seamless as possible.
We recorded the first three episodes beginning of February, which is why we have to do this. And Navi is now in London, and we haven't seen each other in 2 months.
I know it's been crazy. I was supposed to be back in Bombay, but obviously with all the flight restrictions and everything else going on, this is the next best thing. And yeah, it's been a bit of a crazy time for everyone.
Yeah, it really has. It's been quite a process. And now, because India's on like a full on lockdown, full on meaning that obviously everyone has to work from home and we can't actually be roaming around the streets and things like that. And as of yesterday, the grocery shops, the veggie shops are shutting down as well for like 3, 4 days.
Oh, wow.
It's quite a scary time. What about in London?
It's not that bad in terms of lockdown. You're still able to go out and exercise once a day, so you can go for a walk. You can
Yeah.
obviously still go out to the supermarkets and stock up on stuff that you need.
Yeah.
And some businesses are still open. So even for me, we're in manufacturing, so we're currently open and working, obviously not in full capacity, but still going to the office when it's needed. But obviously there's not staff there because I've sent them all home to just be obviously at home because they're not essentially needed to work. So it's a bit of a difficult time, I think, for everyone. And I think everyone's just trying to navigate to figure out how to survive and work through it.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people can relate to you because just being a business owner, you have to actually go and get those orders in. Whereas people who just work for you, obviously don't prioritize the same way.
Because it's not like other countries where it's a complete lockdown. So like with India, all businesses, everything is shut down. So everyone's in the same boat. Here, that's not been advised by the government. So you can still go out of work. And obviously if you need to work and you need to make ends meet and you have to do the job, then you do. But as long as you're taking the precautions and doing it safely, I think that's the way everyone's doing it.
Yeah. I feel like now in Bombay now, I'm in my third and a half week. So it's been about 25 days for us. And the first 2 weeks started off with all of us checking out the death tolls and the infected tolls and things like that. But I feel like now all of us have calmed down a bit. What about you?
Yeah, no, in the beginning, I think it was a bit of a shock to everyone to think, what is a lockdown? None of us have ever experienced it. We
Yeah.
don't know what it is. It was just strange for everybody to be hearing what we're about to go through is a complete lockdown. And it just seemed unreal. It seemed like a movie that obviously that's not going to actually happen. And if it does, it's going to be 1 week, 2 week. Now it's what, 3, 4 weeks into it.
Yeah.
It's become new normal, which is, I don't know.
It's funny because we've gone from like a society who's like very connected, very everything is so accessible, and suddenly we're not allowed to actually leave our homes. And so for me, the first 7 to 10 days were really traumatic because I was like unable to even fathom what the hell was going on. And I feel like a lot of people had the same issue. And then after the 10th day, I was like, fine, I'm just going to try and start learning how to do sourdough, like bake sourdough, which I've been meaning to do for the last 2, 3 years.
Yeah, no, and it was one of those things because we couldn't like speak to somebody to be like, oh, what do we actually do in a lockdown, or how is it? How will I feel? What will happen? Because
Yeah.
we were all going through it at the same time, and none of us kind of knew what to expect. So
Yeah.
everyone's reactions and even preparations were just strange because you kind of didn't know what to do, whether it be stockpiling on goods, which is obviously stupid to do, or just worrying to be like, oh my God, what's going to happen? I can't fly. I can't see my loved ones. I can't go to work. I won't have any money. It was just all sorts of possible anxieties that were kicking in.
Yeah, especially when you have, and that's also the first 2 weeks when you don't have that much information, and then the articles are all about people getting infected and getting unwell, and you're like, oh God, that's happening, and then you have that paranoia as well that sets in, where you're like, shit, I just need to protect myself, and then
Yeah.
hoard. It's actually, it's like a normal human reaction actually. Like I feel like most of us would be guilty of hoarding the first few days, and then realizing that actually it's not as bad.
Yeah, because in the first week or first couple of days, everyone was buying toilet paper and there was no toilet paper left in the supermarkets. And it was just such a random thing for people to be hoarding and just running in to get because you'd rather stock up on food. Like, not toilet paper.
Yeah.
There was a psychologist, and she said it was the fact that it was just psychologically made people feel better because it was a bigger thing to hold. So it was something big that they could hold and would make them feel more secure, which is pretty crazy.
It is quite crazy, especially when you
Yeah.
have all of this happening, and one thing that you resort to is finding the need to want to buy only toilet paper. Like
Yeah.
what, you know, like it's funny actually, and it's weird at the same time.
Because I never thought I'd ever have a dilemma of running out of toilet paper and not being able to buy it. And then that
Yeah.
became a second fear, to be like, oh, well, there's no alternative. Now what? Well, there
Yeah.
are alternatives, but there's nothing else I could possibly buy because it's out of stock.
Mm. So over here, it's been more of a, like, I feel like the toilet paper situation is okay, but we have like people freaking out because there wasn't any clear-cut communication as to what we should do. So social distancing wasn't actually practiced that much. So even if like the first day when we were told to stay home, everyone rushed to the markets and things like that. And I feel like that was quite dangerous to do those kinds of things.
But in a way, you don't even know. Do you judge people for their reactions in this time? Do you like, what do you possibly do? Because
Not judge.
this is just not judge in terms of just saying, why don't people do this instead of that? I think everyone's reactions are so, it's just an instinct, and they're just rushing towards doing something because none of us know what actually the other side is going to look like, or when we're going to end this situation,
Yeah.
what actually is going to happen.
So before Corona, BC is what I thought we can call it.
BC.
Yeah.
The good times.
Yeah, the good times. I was in this like weird zone where like I used to be like, okay, now I'm not going to go out. I'm just going to do a little bit of self-isolation. And now that we're forced to do this, I'm just dying to meet people. And the fact that I have done Zoom, house partying, and WhatsApp FaceTiming with my friends who I generally don't even talk to once a month, you know. But it just so happens that you're suddenly like feeling united as people, which is quite nice in a way.
Yeah, I think it's something that we're all united in because we're all going through it. So that's obviously something that's going to help connect us because we've all got something to relate to, because everyone is going through the same thing. It's not just somebody you know is going through it, or it's only happening in one country. It's happening all over the world.
Yeah.
And everyone's in the same vulnerable state. So it's the only way to connect with each other and speak about it might be a bit of, not sigh of relief, but knowing that we're all in the same boat.
I agree, because this is the first thing that we all have, you know, gone through together, which has nothing to do with gender, which has nothing to do with race. It's just like unbiased. And that's when you just suddenly realize that the world and the struggles sometimes and the issues that everyone makes up, everything can just literally come to a screeching halt with one guy taking a flight and literally changing the entire world's fate for like the next 8 months or however long this goes on for. Like it just puts things into perspective, you know, like one day you wake up and everything is different.
Which you would never have thought could even be possible. Did I ever think economies would shut down, flying would not be a thing, everyone would be stuck at home, there will be no travel, there will be so many restrictions, and for like an endless period of time? It just sounds so unreal. Like you couldn't even write this in a movie if you tried.
Yeah. I mean, I have seen a few of these dystopian setup type movies, like A Quiet Place with Emily Blunt and things like that, or like even Black Mirror, and you're like, no, that's never going to happen. None of these things can happen. But I feel like we're in a weird version of those scenarios ourselves.
A combination of all these movies and shows put together, and now we actually have to live it.
Yeah.
Very strange.
Yeah, and be calm through it because there's really nowhere to go. So you may as well just accept it, which is very hard for me at first.
Yeah. Because there's no deadline. I think I struggle with that because I don't know what the end point is. I'm a control freak anyway, and this is a situation where I have zero control, and that makes me feel uneasy because I don't know. It's 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months. How long is this going to go on? And when does it stop? And when do we go back to normal, or is there going to be a new normal? It's a very scary time.
I feel like when you and I discussed the new normal, a lot of things came up, right? Like we wanted to talk about was that how will life actually be when all of this is over?